Why time seems to be speeding up? Is it just an illusion, or is there more to it? Let's delve into the concept of time perception, a fascinating aspect of cognitive psychology that explains why an hour can feel like a minute and vice versa. Now, time perception isn't uniform. It varies from person to person, and even from moment to moment for the same individual. A child might feel a year as an eternity, while an elderly person could perceive it as a fleeting moment. This difference in perception can often create the illusion of time accelerating. The phenomenon is much akin to standing on a fast-moving train, observing the world whiz by. The landscape isn't moving any faster, you are. Similarly, time isn't really speeding up. It's your perception that's changing. So, time isn't really speeding up, it just feels that way. But why does it feel that way? Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the intricacies of our mind clock in the next scene. Our minds have an internal clock that measures the passing of time, but this clock isn't always accurate. The human mind is a fascinating thing, especially when it comes to our perception of time. It's not just a simple count of seconds, minutes, and hours. No, it's far more complex than that. Our perception of time is a psychological process, shaped by factors like attention, emotions, and memory. Think about it. When you're engrossed in a gripping novel or a thrilling movie, time seems to fly by. You look up and suddenly it's 2 hours later. That's your mind's attention at play. When we're focused on something, our brain tends to underestimate the amount of time that's passed. On the flip side, when you're waiting for a pot to boil or standing in a long queue, time seems to drag on. That's because our brain overestimates the duration of unengaging events. Emotions play a role too. Ever noticed how time seems to slow down during a frightening event? That's because our brain goes into high alert, processing information more thoroughly and making that moment seem longer. Conversely, happy times seem to whiz by before you know it. And then there's memory. Our memory isn't a perfect record of events. It's more like a highlight reel, focusing on the most significant moments. This can skew our perception of time. If a lot of memorable things happened in a day, we might feel like that day was longer. But if it was just an ordinary day with nothing much to recall, we might feel like it passed by in a blink. So here's the thing. Our perception of time isn't just about the ticking of a clock. It's about how our minds interpret and remember those ticks. It's about how we experience life, moment by moment. It's about the stories we tell ourselves, the memories we make, the emotions we feel. And that's why, even though time is constant, it doesn't always feel that way. Because in the end, time is not just measured in hours and minutes, it's measured in experiences and memories, in laughter and tears, in moments of fear and moments of joy. So, our perception of time isn't just about the ticking of a clock, it's about how our minds interpret and remember those ticks. Time seems to speed up as we get older. But this isn't because time is actually getting faster. This is a phenomenon known as the time illusion, a fascinating quirk of human perception that can make minutes feel like hours and years feel like mere moments. You see, our perception of time is not constant. It's not a steady, unchanging flow, but rather it's elastic, bending and stretching in response to our experiences, emotions, and even our age. This malleability of time perception is what gives rise to the time illusion. When we're young, each day is filled with new experiences and fresh discoveries. These novel experiences require our brains to process a lot of information, which can make time seem to slow down. As we age, however, our lives often become more routine, and we encounter fewer new experiences. As a result, time seems to speed up because there's less new information for our brains to process. Memories play a big role in this illusion too. When we look back on our past, we tend to remember periods of change and novelty more vividly than periods of routine and sameness. So, our recollections of youth filled with many memorable experiences can make it seem like those early years lasted longer than the more recent ones. But here's the twist. While it might feel like time is speeding up as we age, this is just an illusion. The clock ticks at the same rate, whether we're 5 or 55. Time isn't getting faster, it's our perception that's changing. The time illusion offers a fascinating glimpse into the subjective nature of our experience. It shows that our perception of time is not a simple reflection of the objective reality, but rather it's a complex construct shaped by our experiences, emotions, and memories. The time illusion shows that our perception of time is subjective and can be influenced by various factors. So, the next time you feel like time is flying by, remember, it's not the world that's speeding up, it's all in your head. Our memories play a key role in our perception of time. But how does this work? Let's dive into the fascinating world of our memory bank to answer this question. Think of your memory as a vast, intricate library. Each book on the shelves represents a different memory. When we experience something new, our brains write a new book and place it on the shelf. The more eventful and enriching the experience, the more detailed the book is. On the other hand, when we live through routine or uneventful days, our brains jot down only a few lines, sort of like a brief summary. Now, here's where the connection between memory and time perception comes into play. When we retrieve a detailed, rich memory, it's like reading a long, captivating book. It takes a while to go through all the pages, to relive all the details and emotions. As a result, it feels as if time slows down. This is why when we look back at a day filled with new and exciting experiences, it seems longer than it actually was. On the flip side, when we recall a routine, lackluster day, it's like skimming through a short summary. It doesn't take much time or effort to read, so it feels as if time has flown by. This is why our monotonous, uneventful days seem to whiz past us in a blur. Moreover, our brains tend to remember novel experiences more vividly than routine ones. So when we look back at our lives, our recollections are biased towards these rich, eventful memories. This gives us the impression that time was slower and more packed in the past compared to our fast-paced, routine present. So in a way, our memories act like a time machine, taking us back to past moments and influencing how we perceive the present. By understanding this, we can take control of our time perception by making our lives more eventful and enriching, and thus slowing down the pace of our ticking clocks. So if time isn't really speeding up, why does it feel like it is? This is the time paradox. The time paradox, an intriguing concept, isn't a paradox in the traditional sense. Rather, it's a phenomenon that explores the subjective nature of our perception of time. And this, dear listeners, might just explain why time seems to be on a sprint as we age. Imagine, if you will, a long summer vacation when you were just a kid. Those days seemed to stretch on forever, didn't they? Now contrast that with your adult life. Days seem to blur into weeks, weeks into months, and before you know it, another year has passed. Why is that? Well, the time paradox theory suggests that as we age, each moment, each day, each year becomes a smaller fraction of our overall life experience. When you're 5, a year is a whopping 20% of your life, but when you're 50, it's just 2%. So in a sense, time really is speeding up. But it's not just about the math. Our brains play a significant role too. As we grow older, we accumulate more experiences, more memories. This wealth of information can make time feel as if it's rushing by. It's like reading a book for the second time. It always seems quicker, doesn't it? That's because your brain already knows what's coming. Additionally, routine and familiarity can contribute to this sensation. As we settle into patterns, our brain doesn't need to work as hard to process information. The mundane becomes background noise, and time appears to accelerate. So while the hands on the clock might not actually be moving any faster, our perception of time does change. Our brains, ever efficient and adaptive, alter the way we experience the passage of time based on our age, experiences, and routines.